All right. I think it's recording. Can you see my screen?
It says recording right now.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay.
And if you give me permission, I'll record also.
Let's see. Let's see where the window is that has the chat.
Well, if you can't, I won't worry about it.
Let me give it a try here. Let's see. Huh. Huh. There it is. I just found it.
Okay.
There you go.
It's recording now.
Okay. Now, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, let's review really quickly how last week was.
Okay.
By the way, you did excellent on your assignment. I really liked your portfolio, and is that something that you'd like to create for your?
I need to create one. I haven't done so yet.
Yeah. Okay. And so I think you're really clear on the creative brief, and you were really clear on the concept of it being a contract. So that's really what that is all about. Now this week we're going to focus on the planning and prototyping. So after you've agreed upon the work with your client, it's now time to do the planning and prototyping, and this can be done a lot with pencil and paper, or you can use some of the available tools, and we'll go over some of those.
Okay.
So the conversation is very iterative, and clients actually respond very well to being given options. And so a way to prototype simply more than one design, I believe, is what will maximize the customer's satisfaction. So if an easy way to facilitate prototyping multiple designs is really what is important to think about, because the client doesn't really know what he wants or she wants, and by presenting multiple options, you help them narrow that down. Now, one way of doing that is to directly look at the competitors of your client and look at the examples of their websites. So that's a quick way to go through the competition and say, I like this, I like that. You're almost doing a little bit of a shopping spree. And they can go through, and then they can get clear on what they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're going up against your competition, you've got to be aware of what capabilities they're offering. And as time goes on, the web has evolved in the value that it brings to a business. Originally, the value really was simply like an online brochure where you can go and learn about products. But that would be considered like Web 1.0. But actually, the web is evolving in the services that companies are now providing. And it goes from, back then, it would be like an online brochure where you have pictures of products, descriptions of services, and then click here to contact me, maybe provide an email address. So that was the original. Since that time, though, it's evolved, and now you can include multimedia, embed that. You can also include hooks to social platforms, social media platforms. You can include hooks to that. And you can provide other services, such as portals for customers. In other words, log in here, and that would be database driven in the background. And portals where the customer would set up a profile or an account, or they have an account, and you'd log in and then be able to do transactions automatically after the login. So websites and what companies are doing is evolving. So what are some of your thoughts and observations on that evolution?
Well, the internet started out, from what I can gather, is that it was like an advertisement sheet.
Very good. That's true.
And as time has gone by, it became more interactive, so that people could actually be able to find products that they needed and actually purchase the products.
Yes, very good. That's a good point. Online shopping cart and e-commerce websites. Very, very good point.
And now it's gotten to the point also where a lot of the stuff that you can buy, yes, you can buy it online or whatever, but if you have, say you have a problem with it and you need to see the owner's manual, oftentimes now you can find the owner's manual, the breakdown of the parts and everything else in there. So it's a maintenance as well in there.
Yes. Portals, manufacturers are finding the internet, manufacturers of products are finding the internet a great medium for supporting their products.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Click here on support, click here, and you can have instant chat with somebody, and sometimes 24/7. So the cost of being able to interactively provide support for your products, click here to download the drivers, click here to download the documentation. I'm thinking of like Hewlett Packard and their website, or Microsoft, the website. It's just so much information and to support. Or click over here and set up a profile, and you can create a community of individuals that can get to know each other and talk back and forth, and it can become their own support where if you have a question, go ahead and post it in the forum, and individuals of the community can go ahead and respond to you, or else we'll have or in addition, we'll have people from our customer support department monitoring the forum in case there's some questions there that they need to respond to. So it's now becoming a community site for a company is really cutting their costs, because there are these very kind individuals who log into the forum and they want to help other people who are using the product, and they ask a question. And so what are your observations about that?
Well, I go back a few years, actually quite a few years on it. Ford at one time was having trouble selling their vans and stuff. And what they did was they finally realized it wasn't the engineers that had to do the design. They went out and they surveyed mothers of children. And by doing that, found out what those women actually wanted on the van or in the van to make it easier and better for them. Then they managed to change their entire design to fit this. So, yes, the customer definitely has a very definite effect on it.
Yep. And also now the whole concept of product or service customer reviews has really taken the process of deciding what to buy down to the ability for you to look at ratings of other customers and read their responses. Amazon's doing great at this. And again, this is customers who are providing the content. And this is what is called Web 2.0, when the value of content is being driven to a great extent by customers as opposed to the producers, the manufacturers. And it's evolving to the point that we have huge social platforms like Facebook and sharing, the ability to share content, and the whole concept of something going viral. That's all new. The idea of using Twitter, where you can use hashtags and being able to create your own website where you could embed content from YouTube and track, and you can do analytics on your website where you can see where they click or how many visitors you've had and what where they go on your website. They have that kind of feedback. It's down to a science now.
I know.
And the amount of the sophistication of websites has gone from just being a couple HTML pages to now being full-blown database-driven systems that require back-end programmers, databases, front-end developers, people who know JavaScript for interactivity. And as you know, Adobe Flash used to be really popular, but its popularity has gone down recently thanks to the mobile platform and the iPhone kind of rejecting. So what are your observations about that?
Well, I think it's a normal process. Matter of fact, here's something goes back to the 70s and 80s. In Paris, France, they were having a problem because of the traffic and the violence on the streets. So what they finally did was certain hours would be designated. The kids would call in by phone to get their assignments and stuff.
Right.
And the people would actually speak to them over the phones. This way they didn't have to go out on the streets. That's where I think a lot of it started, realizing that could be done. Now the internet gives them the ability not only to hear it, but actually to see it. And let's be honest, people don't learn just by hearing. They
Right.
learn also by seeing.
Right. Yeah. The internet with multimedia capability enables us to connect, and according to various learning styles, the people who are visual learners, the people who are oral learners, or AURAL, oral learners, learners through listening,
Right.
and it's now the mobile phone has become a device that can do all sorts of things. It can do voice to text. You can talk into it, and now these are applications. Now we're getting away from talking about websites directly right now, but voice to text, and then also by moving the phone, the GPS locating where it is, the movement of the phone can indicate. I forget what it's called, but there's some meter inside a phone. You can respond to that. The fact is, the phone has the ability to take pictures, the ability to shine lights, and this device and the ability to respond to voice commands. So now, what the model that's being leveraged now is not so much sit down at your computer and browse the internet, but more of take your smartphone with you, use it to communicate, use it to do some browsing possibly, but the developer then has the decision to either create a website that only will work on both large and small, or create an app, a smartphone app, or just do a browser website that has a special format for just small phones. So it's really kind of it goes back and forth which one they want to commit to doing it, and how does a customer, how does a developer support the fact that people will be coming to his website, people will be interacting with them or doing business with them via the phone. And I work at a shop where we develop a website, and it's a database-driven website, and it has e-commerce built into it. And we are able to use our database. Our servers are not physical servers that are in our shop, but actually they're in the cloud. And so when we publish our website, it goes directly to Amazon Web Services, and you may have heard of that. It's basically a cloud-based system that will scale easily if upon the load demands of your website. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. We check in our code into a repository, and then we just take versions from that.
Well, I know that a lot of people think that these ideas are new, but actually they're not. If you go back to the 1930s, your Dick Tracy cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he had that watch of his.
Isn't it amazing?
Everything that you can imagine. Or if you read Heinlein, who's a science fiction writer, he came up with a lot of these ideas as well, and put into his stories and into his books. So it's been around. The idea has been around. So just the technology has taken time to catch up.
Oh, yeah.
And then one thing which I read about years back was Star Trek. When they first came out, every single one of their stories had to be approved by the Federal Science Commission. They were checking it to make sure that it wasn't violating anything that was being developed.
Wow.
Well, they actually have had incidences of things where people have come up with something, they just simply jot it down, it ended up in a story. And one of them that was done, and I remember reading about it, was actually the entire layout for building an atomic bomb. And that was actually published in let's see, what was it? 1942, which
Uh-huh.
was years before the atomic bomb was even built.
Huh.
But it was exactly the same thing and actually had the actual formulas in there. So things have it's been progressing in that direction for a long time. Just people just haven't realized it.
Right. Along with content getting out on the internet, governments have been required, I think I mentioned this last week, have been required to provide universal accessibility to their content to those who are impaired, whether they
Yeah.
be impaired by blindness or impaired by other means. And so the website provider is legally bound to provide the content that's accessible.
Right.
So the a website, when it's designed, it can be designed through the concept of components. For example, a shopping cart would be a component that could be added to your website design, or a login portal for doing transacting business, or a customer support component for chatting. As you can see, it becomes somewhat building blocks for developing a very advanced website. And
Mhm.
it's not, you don't have to own completely the challenge of developing all the content on your website. You have to consider that these components may already exist off the shelf or for free that you can download. There are even web-based vendors that allow you to create the website on their site, such as Wix or web.com, and Squarespace.com is another new one. And these are vendors that just let you create your web page on their servers. And so now as you envision your full-blown website, you really don't have to limit yourself to what you think you can create. You can think about other components that you can add. And one of the ways that individuals are taking advantage of components like that, for example, WordPress, you can even use WordPress. It has all these themes and components. Let's see, I think they're called add-ins. Add-ins. And these are, you can very easily add components to the website. Plugins, I guess, is a better better word for it. These are ideas that help in the design of a website. If you're familiar with the plugins that will help you plan and provide to your customer a greater service, these are usually free, and so rather than restricting yourself to just content that you can create, you can be familiar with these components. As you can see, there's tons of them. Look at that.
Right.
There's tons of them, and for example, you can plug in the Google Analytics, and helpful in, or a web counter where it can automatically count how many people come to the website. Site maps that are defined using XML. XML is like HTML, but it is really like a set of data. Look at that. There's just so many components to choose from. And this is called the using plugins.
Right.
So now this concept here, separating content from design, I want to explain a principle to you. And let's see, CSS Zen Garden. This website definitely brings home the concept of this concept right here, separating content from design.
Right.
Now, the content in this website is being done in an HTML file. The design, on the other hand, is being done with graphics and with CSS. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. That's just the strict content. The CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and that in that you can point to the graphics, and you can also specify styles. So this is a separation here of content and design that's referenced right here, separating content from design. Now, to prove the point, the creators of this website gave a challenge to a group of designers, and they said, we want you to do is to use the exact same content, this HTML file. Now, if you open it up, you'll see it's just generic. There's no styling. Yes, I admit there is a default font and a default size of font size and font type. However, the CSS file, on the other hand, is what's changed from one design to the next. And in inviting a group of designers to respond, what they did is you can click right here, view all designs. These are the responses of the community of designers who use the same HTML file, but different graphics and different fonts. So if we click on this, you'll see this looks like a completely different website than the others. But in reality, this website, the content here, not the colors or pictures, but the content is exactly the same as all others. The only thing different is the CSS file. So we separate content from design.
It's like what Disney used to do with his artists, clear back in the 1960s. He would take them to a park, show them a tree, have like 20 or 30 people there. Each one of them had to draw the tree. Every one of them was different.
Very interesting analogy. Each of these have the exact same HTML file.
Yeah, I see that.
And yet the CSS is different, and you can access the CSS for this. Usually says view the CSS for this design. I'm looking for the link. Oh, let me try another one. Usually it's a very prominent link that says view this design CSS right here. Very interesting. That's CSS. And he's broken it out into one single CSS file, but then he imports all these others.
Right.
And he's making it available to everybody. So that's the example and the idea of separating content from design, form, and content. Now, standard fonts, the thing that you need to worry about with fonts is that not all people browsing the internet, not all of them have the same fonts downloaded and installed on their computer. And if you have a website design that's dependent upon a particular font being present, if that person on their browser came to your website and they did not have that font downloaded on their system, they would not be able to see the same font that you have done. So what you can either choose standard fonts and default and let the system defaults make the choice, or some people choose to embed fonts. Now that's done with Adobe Flash. You can do that very easily. But generally speaking, you need to be cognizant of the fact that choosing unusual fonts may impact individuals who don't have that font on their system. Now, the concept here of web safe colors is a little bit out of date. The reason why I say that is because a long time ago, the monitors, the screens, were very limited in what colors they could display. And just because the technology was there. 256 colors. So web safe colors were those that were on the color spectrum among those 256. And so if you had a website, you needed to make sure that the colors you used were within that color set. But nowadays, the monitors and screens can typically view 16 million, the 24-bit to the 24th. It's just large numbers here.
Yeah, it's tremendously large.
True color. And the use of web safe colors is falling into practical disuse. So a little bit dated, obviously. Now, visual hierarchy, that has to do with the organization of the content of your website. If you have different pages and they're organized, one can get to the other. So you might have a hierarchy of navigation. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other concept of visual hierarchy is tracking in the eye and how to organize content. The heading would be primary. The content within the heading or the normal paragraph would be secondary. Then breaking it up would be a third way of dividing the content. Introducing margins and edit footers. These are all related to the organization of and the hierarchy of content on your, not only on your website, but also on your page layout. It breaks down. So what are your observations about that?
Well, I'm partially dyslexic. And actually, that wasn't discovered till a few years back, because when I was in school, it wasn't even known about. But one of the things that I was able to do when I'd look at even a page, as I would see the white spaces, even between the words. And I could see it as a picture, which in a way, it gives me an advantage. I see the white spaces. I see the part that isn't, where the type is, where the pictures are. And I can actually tell how my eye is following it.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, it's like when I read, you're going to look at a word, they've actually tested and found out then what I do is I end up looking directly at the word, the center of the word, the right side, and then the left side, and then to the next word.
Interesting.
Because of that, I can only read a maximum of 120 words a minute, but I can read.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
Very interesting point that you can get around it that way.
Well, I grew up around the film industry back in the 50s, basically, into the very early 60s. My father was a film cutter and later became an associate producer. But I was around the studios quite a bit, and I saw all kinds of stuff. I mean, I'd take a look at a piece of film and watch as they would literally readjust the film, things that we do in Photoshop today. They had a machine bigger than my apartment. It's like night scenes, which are usually shot during the day.
Right.
They can darken it, darken bits and pieces and stuff. And I'm talking about back in the 50s doing that. White shirts, those are always blue in reality, because the blue would show up as white.
Yeah. And now with high definition
Mhm.
TVs, you can take the output of your computer and through an HDMI cable, plug it right into your TV. And with high definition, you can see the high resolution there.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about the problem of the screen getting burned, which you had to worry about with the earlier TVs.
Now, the search engine optimization stands for SEO. And what that means is ways to include content that a search engine will index in a favorable way to find your website and list it among the top returned websites. So it's called SEO, and it is it is all of these things here of what can be done through guiding the search engine to find your website. So it's really important to be aware of this, because the customer is not only interested in creating a nice website, but also driving traffic to that website. And that's where the search engine optimization, or the SEO, comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, produce website designs that work equally well on various operating systems, is missing there, and browser versions. Now, an operating system would be like Windows or Mac or Linux.
Right.
Different browsers, as you know, Safari. What's your browser that you use?
I use Google right now. I would have put Firefox back on when I got the computer back, except that they had a writer on there. And the writer caused all kinds of problems.
Huh.
What was it? I forget the name of it. But what it would do was all of a sudden you're getting all kinds of pop-ups, commercials and stuff. It changed your web location and things like that. And you had no control over it.
Uh-huh.
So it took a number of hours to finally get that out of there. And actually, I had to consult a couple of friends of mine who work for Adobe. They came out and took a look at it and helped me work through to figure out where the stuff was so we get it out of there. But when you've got, you have to call in people these are the people that are proofing what Adobe has and determining what needs to be the new developments and stuff and working on those developments. The average person doesn't have access to that.
Interesting. The point that I was thinking about there was the fact that the search engine optimization, to a certain extent, is impacted by the the fact that, like Adobe Flash, that's all embedded into a single object. And the content, on the other hand, is separated out in HTML.
Right.
So that's another reason why Adobe Flash is losing popularity, just because any content that you put within these SWF files ends up being non-indexable. I want to show you a little trend going on here. It's pretty important. Go to Indeed.com and click on trends. If we type in Flash here, that's Adobe Flash, you can see it used to be really popular, but it's lost. It's just gone straight down since, really since Steve Jobs of Apple kind of dissed Adobe Flash. You can see it's been going straight down. HTML5, which is the latest version of HTML started taking off, and it kind of peaked a little bit, and it's been coming down. Now, you might want to ask yourself this question: why would HTML5 peak and start coming down? Do you have any theories as to why there are less companies asking for HTML5 skills? Do you have any idea?
Well, a lot of them don't have the computers that are up to date to where they can utilize it.
Uh-huh.
That makes a difference right there. It's going to take time for that to occur. The main rise on it to begin with is always your introduction. When you introduce something new, everyone wants to try it. But a lot of times they'll turn around and go back to something which is a little older that they understand. It's like your XP computers.
Right.
I mean, I know people today that still use an XP computer, but you can't update them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years ago, I had a computer that had such a small memory to it, I didn't have to worry about viruses.
Uh-huh.
The viruses took up more space than I had memory.
Well, one of the thoughts that I was going to share with you, that's interesting, was that vendors are now, instead of hiring developers to create from scratch, they are using things like Facebook pages instead of websites. You may have heard of Facebook pages before.
Yeah, well, yes, I know about them.
Built into Facebook, and typically they're free. Also, website development companies like I mentioned earlier, Wix and web.com. And so vendors are automating the ability to create your own presence on the web. And I think that might be what's attributable to this downward decline.
Yeah, that could be part of it. Facebook, there's a problem with that, and some of the others like that. And that is that Facebook, the moment that you publish anything on there, they have total copyright on it.
Is that right?
That disturbs a lot of people, and they realize what that actually means.
So we have customers using their website, creating content, and then Facebook saying, thank you very much. We now own the content that you have.
Right.
Provided.
They haven't been exercising it that much, but if they do decide to, they can legally. Both in this country and also in Europe.
What surprises me is that these vendors, these social platform vendors, have been able to host copywritten content that was already previously copywritten, and they haven't been impacted, or they haven't been sued for the fact that they're hosting sometimes copywritten content. I was going to point this out too. This is Flash going down there, but now this is CSS in it too. See that? That's an amazing decline there. And then JavaScript, that's the programming for front-end interactivity. That too has been going down. So it's, you can see it's starting to come up here. Maybe it bottomed out, but we'll see. So that's the concern I have about search engine optimization and Flash content. Now, HTML5 is obviously a format that can be searched by a search engine with no problem. And the keywords would be found in the header area of a web page.
If you notice also on those graphs, they're following the economic trend.
Uh-huh.
So economics plays a great deal to do with it.
That's
funny.
That is true. The different browser versions, and that would be, for example, Google Chrome, Safari, Mozilla Firefox, and more.
Yeah.
And typically, you really need to test your browser in the different, test your website in the different browsers.
Well, I was planning to see what I can do about getting those browsers on there. I'm just very skeptical about that one coming up, and if I spot it, I will not put the browser on.
Oh, I see.
Because that thing really caused me all kinds of trouble.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it ended up on my PC, and we just about had to reformat the hard drive to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's typical. The thing I like about using a Mac is that they have such a structure inside it that prevents viruses to come in. And so, as with Windows, the more you use it and the more you install things, the more it seems to slow down big time. And I did not.
You get too many temporary files.
Yeah, and load things that will load, applications that will load. If you install something, it'll put something in the run key on Windows, and which means that every time you the startup key, every time you start up, it does go through all those.
Mm-hmm. It's the same as I go through my downloads on a regular basis and eliminate anything I don't need. And if I have something that shows up that I haven't authorized, I immediately go in there and check to see if there's a download. Then I check every other area in order to find it and get it out of there before it can cause too much trouble. And I found that both on the Mac and the PC.
I see. Yeah, being able to test it in both environments is good. I actually have Parallels installed on my Mac, which allows me to run Windows within the Microsoft Windows within an environment. And that helps me do testing for that environment and that browser. This equals Windows 7 IE 11. Page layout design, concepts and principles, and screen resolution. And typically, individuals will use wireframe to design that. One tool I think I may have mentioned is Balsamic. Yeah, I think it was in our notes. It is a nice tool, and you can create mock-ups for website design using that. It's actually, you can do it for free if you just don't need to save anything.
Right.
Now, concepts and principles and screen resolution. Resolution is quite an interesting topic because the fact is, people might be coming to your website. Oh, this is funny. Because I loaded parallels, it's really taxing um, my CPU.
Mhm.
So I'm going to shut it down. Isn't that funny?
You get too many things open at times.
Or if I have an activity monitor. Yeah, okay. Activity monitor. That tells me see I exited out of it and you can tell the CPU has gone back down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the screen resolution. Um, you'll learn to, in another class, APP 242, you're going to learn about creating different CSS files for different screen resolutions. And if you have a smartphone, you'll have a CSS design that will shape it approximately the size of a smartphone. Else, you could even have a CSS for a large screen,
Mm-hmm.
so on. So that creates that flexibility, and it would be dynamically when the person came to your website, no matter if they're what they're using to come to your website. If it is a small smartphone, the website would detect that and would respond accordingly with the sending to you the HTML CSS that's been designed and uploaded and is awaiting for usage.
All right. Doesn't Dreamweaver also have that in it?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought I spotted that. Especially if you use one of the liquid designs.
Yes. Yeah, that one is definitely dynamic. Very, very, very true. That's right.
But you better make sure you check it to make sure that it's when it's been reduced in size that it's still readable.
Exactly. Yeah, when it's dynamic like that, if it's fixed, then you can rest assured it's going to keep that dimension.
Right.
And this here is usability, readability, accessibility. That's all we're talking about regarding individuals who may be impaired.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, the idea of storyboards is just like a movie that has scenes in it and different shots and so on. You could do the same thing, organizing the content and producing documentation that would be comparable to a storyboard, a flow chart, and the wireframes. This is communicate with others, such as peers and clients, about design content plans. Now, where I work, we have a team of 4 UI developers.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 8 back-end developers, and it's pretty interesting how I've observed how they communicate, because the UI developers are creating user interface, or in other words, front-end content, and then the back-end developers aren't so interested in what they can in that. But the front end developers are the ones who are involved with the user interface design. Another term they call UX design. It's
Right. I've seen that listed.
the user interface design. And we've added a UX designer, and he analyzes the user interface of our website and different web pages and so on, and creates work orders for us to fulfill to update it and make the changes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite interesting to watch them all work together and how they communicate, because the front end actually with JavaScript can become interactive. It's one thing to just have an static HTML web page, but to add content, to add that the layout
Right.
is crucial to have a design that appeals to that target audience. These are all various principles of a good page layout here. When designing, as you've mentioned, you have those built-in layouts in Dreamweaver, and those, as you had mentioned, some are fixed, some are fluid.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've already, I remember reading through this.
Well, before I answered the question, I wanted to find out exactly what was meant by a prototype. I mean, I know about models and stuff like that, but I want to make sure I understood it properly. So I did a little bit of checking to find out.
Sure. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn off my phone.
That's all right. One of the things that was pointed out is that a prototype works better than your wire, because with the prototype, the customer can see actually how it's going to be and how it's going to work. And if you've got even a couple of your buttons set up for the hyperlink to another page, they can see how that in itself is going to work. And oftentimes what will happen is that when they see it, they may realize, oh, it's missing something that they want put in.
Right.
Or it could also be that they think that something should be there, and you as a designer realize it's not going to be a good idea. That gives you the opportunity then to let them know what it is and why you've made the decisions you've made.
Yep. Yep, I agree. The one of the things that when you're designing a web page layout that you keep in mind is the challenge of navigation.
Exactly.
And navigation means how do you organize the content of the website and how do you get there? And so people have sometimes thought that site design is conveyed somewhat through using navigation. It can be conveyed, in other words, it can be deduced from what buttons are there, which would indicate where you can go from there. And so that's why like you're saying, the prototype, if you can include the not necessarily all the content, but at least the layout of where navigation comes into play, you click on buttons and so on, then it serves a better purpose than not including navigation, because obviously navigation is crucial.
Oh yeah,
to get through the website.
So it's also crucial if you're using Excel.
Uh-huh.
I had to develop a number of sheets over about 250 sheets in an Excel pattern. And I put in a start page, which had buttons for every single one of those pages. On each one of them had a button to put you right back to the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, you get lost.
Yep. Now, the other instructor has written up this assignment, and it says the directory structure of folders containing a basic set of HTML files. These files can sit in the same folder, the root folder, and they can include this various content. Now, have you had a chance to begin your assignment?
Actually, I've been doing the research so that I would be able to. I'll be doing it probably starting tomorrow morning. I'll get it done.
Okay. Now, let me quickly go through this. And I'm going to use a template in Dreamweaver. Were you in my class this last mod, I think?
Yes.
Yep. So you're familiar with this already.
I'm still going back to that book.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yes. Well, part of our reading assignment was, what was it, chapter 4 we had to reread.
Yeah. So I think that the fastest way to do the assignment might be to do it with a template. So first thing you want to do is create a website, create a site. So we go site, new site, call this BS 241. See, Dreamweaver is now causing my fan to start working.
It's a pretty good sized site. A lot in it.
Create a subfolder week 2. Let's see.
One of the tutorials I was looking at, they mentioned you go to the site manager,
Uh-huh.
top of the page,
Right.
and it'll have manage or new.
Yeah.
If you hit the new, it brings up that screen, and you can actually put it in, and it will create the site folder for you.
Okay, good. Like that.
Right. As long as you just have to put the name on it and the location you want.
Okay.
I'm always looking for shortcuts if I can find them. They work well.
All right, so let's do choose one of these layouts. Sorry about this. It's kind
That's all right. Don't worry.
Can you see that screen that I'm moving around?
Yes, I can.
Oh, all right. The old version of Zoom didn't, I think, or maybe it was a chat that you couldn't see.
Chat's the thing that you can't see.
Or if that's by design. Okay, 3-column liquid. Liquid, that's represented by the coils there. and then we can go create.
And footer.
And so this is the, and we can do a file. I remember we need to do editable regions. Let's see. First of all, we need to save this as a template. Save as template. Okay. Well, let's see. Template. All right. Well, let's just select some content, and let's just make that. Right-click, template, new editable region. Call it whatever it tells us. Click OK. Right. And that now makes that whole area an area that can be modified. In fact, I can even delete that content and just leave a blank thing there. So file, save as template, and we'll call this whatever. Just come up with anything you want.
Yeah.
And now with the template, we can do file, new, and then from page from template. And then there's our website, and there's that. Click create. And then that we can do file, save as, and this can be index.html, that very first one that we have on the thing here. There's index.html. And now let's do another one. File, new, page from template, create. We can do file, save as, and this we'll call text.html. Save. That will take care of that one there. We'll come back to it in a second. Images.html. File, new, page from template, create, file, save as, images.html. It's got video and table.
I'm not too sure how to do the video one. But I did locate a tutorial. I just haven't had a chance to look at it that explains how to do it. From Facebook. Or the other one, where all the videos are. Yeah. YouTube.
File, new, page from template, create, file, save as, table.html, and that would be that last one. Now let's go back up and see what we need to put on each of these. Graphical links, menu, buttons to the other HTML pages. All right, well, what I'd like to do is actually do that in my template. So, see, this is the template right here.
Right.
And so, link one.
Right-click it.
Insert, hyperlink.
You actually should be, from what I've seen, you can actually right-click, and it'll come up with that box.
Cool. And then we're going to go to index for home. Do another one here. Insert, hyperlink. And this one, so what was the second one? Next, text. Text. And then the next one is images.
Another place you can do it is the link in the properties manual.
I guess I've forgotten to do one for links. Links. File, new, HTML template, file, save as, links. Go back to here, insert, hyperlink. Now, I know I can do it easily out here. What I'm going to do is select a line, copy it, and paste it several times.
I've done that on my practices.
Okay, links, video. In fact, the hyperlink's already there. So right down here, video table. We can just do it over here. File, save. And it's now saying, hey, you've made all these other HTML files from this template. Do you want to update those too? And I say, yep.
Yeah, definitely.
So now all of them are changed. See the asterisk? All have the update. So file, save all. Now they all are saved.
Right.
And then you go back and see headers, paragraphs, an ordered list, an unordered list. Let's see, headers. Oh, that would be something like, so what we can do is we can bring up the text here. This guy, headers, we can do insert. Okay. See, I can't, there it is. So I'm going to do is kind of do something. Copy, paste, 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 paste. Watch this. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 5. 2. See that?
Mhm. Excuse me.
Paragraph, unordered list, and unordered list. So paragraph tag. There, it's already right there. Paragraph. And then here, that's a paragraph. D. D is paragraph. Now the ordered list, all right, insert an order list. I know how to do it in HTML.
Mhm.
Let's see. There it is. Took me a while. Jeez. This is an unordered list.
Mhm.
Then that's the unordered list.
Right.
So that's all that. Oh, I did it in the opposite order. That's okay. Okay, images. An image photograph with a border, an image with a caption, and alternate text, a logo. So I'm going to save this. Get out of that. So images here. See, insert image. Alternate text, caption, alternate text. Border, logo, click on it. Let's see here. Can't remember where the stupid border is.
I would have to look myself to find it.
Oh man, I'm not doing what I thought was right there. Um, Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe I can't find this.
What about frame set? Would that be it?
Uh-uh. Oh, man. This is bugging me. Image. I thought it was just image properties, but I guess not. When all else fails. I can do it in HTML, but I really want to do it. It's just an attribute of maybe. Let's see. Maybe it's gone to CSS. Maybe we have to do it in CSS instead of an image tag. Hmm. Mhm. Yeah, I did it. Finally found it.
Where'd you find it?
Edit image tag.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm probably missing it here somewhere. If it's a property of the image tag, it should show up here on the interface. Anyway, right click, edit image tag, and there's border right there. All right, so it's the image for the border logo. Oh, yeah, resize this. Oops. That's height. See, it's not giving me the ability for it to automatically resize the other. Well, let's see. Let me just leave that one. It's taking so much time. Let's take a logo. Go to the draw. Go to the regular template, and grab a logo. If you don't have one, I don't have one handy right there. Grab any logo. Twitter. Yay. They're huge. I'm going a little fast here. Do a Command S. Update them all. Let's see here. You know what? I need to probably call it a night here. Oh, I want to show you the YouTube video one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Image. No, video. Right here. Okay, video. Click right there. And let's see where it is over here. Okay. Now, I just typed in a couple letters just so I can see where it is over here. Let's go to YouTube. And you can go pick pick one of these and then click on share. And I would do recording. Oh, it's starting to talk. Then I'd click share and then embed, and then copy this, and then come back here, and over on the code side, paste it in there. Paste in the copy. There it all is. And that should do it. Right. So anyways, I'm going to have to call it a night, I think. If you get stuck in any of these other ones, let me do a table really quickly here.
Okay.
Let me do a table here. Insert table. You can do, what is it? 2x2, 3x3, and 4x4. Let's see. 2x2. We got to do the header, but I haven't done the header. Let's see. Insert table. 3x3. Oh, see, there's the one. Click on this one. That's got the header. And then, whoa. And then insert. Oops. Insert table 4x4. That one. Click OK.
You better plug in your computer soon. You're down to 31%.
31.
That's not now 30.
Is that?
It's on your battery.
I think I'm all right for a couple minutes here.
Okay.
All right. So link to an external website, same page, external website, new page. Let's see. I see links. Links. Pretty easy. Just click there. Click insert hyperlink. Let's say Google. www.google.com. Let's see. This is same page, new page. Let's see here. See, this is the new page here.
Right.
Blank, new, and blank would do the links for new and separate. So let's see, we got that. Image, oh, we did that. Table, okay, we did that. I think we're good. Sorry,
Yeah,
I kind of rushed it there, but I gotta.
Hey, that's fine, no problem.
All right.
They've also recording it, so I can get back to it again.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you so much for showing up. If you get stuck, Tara will be in the lab tomorrow. Other people could help. If they can't help you, just call me, and I'll meet you in the. We can do some more one-on-one.
Right, I understand. I also have some pretty good sites I found here.
Awesome. Okie doke. Well, let's call it a night.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Miranda. I appreciate you showing up.
Thank you. It always helps because I'm a very visual person.
Awesome. I'm really happy about that.
Now, even when I read a book, it's like, for me, it's like looking at a movie.
Yeah.
I literally see everything. But you have a good evening now.
All right. Thanks. You too. Take care.
All right. Right. Bye now.